From London, England, where the Queen lives.
Recorded live from an underground bunker and packaged into an MP3 with a pretty little picture. Helping to kickstart your day with the motivation and inspiration you need 365 days a year. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. And this is your host, Chris Jaggs.
How are you doing? Happy Monday, everyone. We are here again for the start of another week. Welcome to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. My name is Chris Jaggs, and back in the seat for another chapter of the LDL adventure. Somehow we have hit episode 90 of the weekly show. Time really does fly by. And this week, I'm bringing you the final piece of what has somehow become a mini-series about career changes, and if it's the time for you to get that change in a new direction. So the previous episode had a few things that you could do to see if the time was right for a career change. Some were linked to feelings you had with a current job, when you're at work, and it's not about the anticipation of being there as well. And as we said before, on average, 80% of our decisions are based on emotion. And this is why sometimes we look at decisions we've made and ask ourselves, why did I do that? Now, before we dive into this, let's have those messages and then we can start to see how you're feeling emotional about chasing a new dream.
For more information and inspiration, head over to learndeveloplive.com.
Recorded live in the UK, podcasting to the world. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast.
Hello! Now, if you're thinking about a new career, just how do you know if you really do need a change? Are these feelings just normal ups and downs, or are they warning flags you need to pay attention to? How many of these feel familiar to you? So let's start with probably the most basic one, and especially one you'll get right at the beginning of a change. The job is starting to bother you. Now there is an insistent, buzzy thought about it. You start to think to yourself, just pack in. Find something else. Now this thought only started as a quiet and easily dismissed, just a little bit of nonsense. You're just having a bad day. It'll be better tomorrow. But over time, it's been getting stronger, louder, and a little bit harder to ignore. And yet, it's not as easy as, just pack it in. What about if I'm being melodramatic? What if you're being seduced by the pop culture and unrealistic rubbish out there in the media, when actually you should just be grateful to have a steady job at all? Sometimes it's just hard to tell if it's truly time to take the plunge and change career, or if you simply need to sort yourself out, get your head down and wait for the storm to pass. After all, every storm will eventually pass, regardless of how bad it really is. So let's look at some of the most common signs that, it's time to make a shift. Are there any of these that you recognise for yourself? And this is a little bit of a checklist, I guess, so, onwards. Do you feel a bit of a body breakdown? You feel it most at the beginning and at the end of the day. Heavy, tired, drained of energy, as your mind pipes up and its piercing morning chorus of, do I have to? Your body joins in with a baseline, weight and aching slowness. And this is just the morning. In the evenings, you arrive home from work, all you want to do is flop, to try and recoup just a little bit of the energy you spent all day pouring out. You're developing aches, pains, creaks in places you've never creaked before. Those shoulders feel permanently tense, although you hadn't realised how knotted they were until you tried to reach up your hand just to check. Are you getting sick more often perhaps? More prone to colds and twinges? The physical signs of an unhappy career are insidious. The physical part slowly creeps up and you wonder if it's really just a part of getting older or if they're connected to something else. Next, we have the chronic busy brain. Now, we've spoken about the Sunday blues before, that rising sense of dread as the weekend comes to a close, usually beginning during Sunday afternoon. The spinning thoughts about the dreaded Monday morning are exhausting, especially when they show up in the middle of the night. Some people do get woken up by just these thoughts, dreading what horrors you might face in the morning, but not thinking about how you could change all of that, wondering if the problem might be you and not your work. When the alarm goes off, the only thing that goes through you is dread before you eventually pull yourself out of bed. Some days, often right after lunch, your brain takes you off to a gorgeous world of fun and fulfillment. Now, imagine you're successful, paid well, doing something that you love. You leap out of bed at 6 a.m. Bluebirds help you get dressed. You look like Snow White. And you and your colleagues skip to the sunrise hand in hand, laughing all the way to the best office in the world. If that's where you work, of course. Maybe it's a shop. Who knows? There is no thought that goes through your head, but then you're back in the office under the fluorescent strip lights with a bump. You start scrolling through the job ads, hoping that the daydream will spark inspiration and good luck. But it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. Everyone has days when busy brain takes over. Look, nobody is 100% happy all of the time. But if the inside of your mind is constantly spinning with doubt, questions and desperation, it's probably about time you begin to listen to it. The confidence thing is another one where you think if the problem is actually you. If you feel like you're in the wrong job and you don't fit in. You're not doing good enough a job as you know you could or as you know you should because it just doesn't flow naturally. You think that if you're good at your job, you should feel better to be good at it. But it doesn't feel good. Why are you doing this every day? As the weeks and months and years pass by, you're feeling less and less strong. Less and less yourself. And the more you feel less yourself, the less you feel like you could ever do anything else. You imagine being happy and fulfilled at work, but the longer this goes on, the more it feels like you'll never get anywhere and you'll never do what you really want to do. You are becoming a shadow of your true self. Money might be the only reason you're sticking around despite unhappy you have been at your job. You know, the one that you hate. If it wasn't for the money, you'd have left by now. Getting paid is regular. It keeps the parents happy, it keeps your other half happy too. Hey, at least you aren't sitting in your favourite chair in your pants watching Netflix all day, right? You have responsibilities. You need to take care of the mortgage, your family, your future. Now these are all important points. The money's great, but is that the main reason you're staying in your career? If the cash is the only thing keeping you from exploring something new, go and try and explore that possible new adventure. Life is too short to exchange your happiness for a pay packet. Maybe you'll have to take a pay cut to shift. Maybe you won't. Maybe you get paid even more in a new career. Maybe you won't. But if you don't go and have a look, you will 100% never actually know, will you? How about a little self-medication? You know, it's just an extra round in the bar or the pub after work. It's just another evening in front of the TV. Again, it's just another retail therapy session as you take more bags of stuff on your way back to the car from the shops at the weekend. You'll just pop in here on the way home from work, get yourself a little something as a nice reward for getting through the week. You did it yesterday too, and you probably spent more than you should have. But hey, what the hell? It's good to treat yourself, right? And then maybe you'll go and meet some friends at the bar, stay out for a few rounds longer than you probably should have, because if you go home, you'll start thinking about Monday rolling around again. It's just a hangover you end up with. I've never had one myself as I don't drink, but I've heard they are a lot of fun. Back to the TV to binge watch that series instead of going to the gym because, well, you just don't have the energy. You don't have the motivation to do any of these things you used to love. You've used all that energy up at work this week. You can't be bothered anymore. Whatever your poison might be, if you're trying to block out the discomfort of an ill-fitting career by pouring something else into your life, it really is time to take how you're feeling seriously. Do you feel like you have a bit of a split personality? Do you feel that while you're at work, it feels like you're putting on an act? You can almost feel the mask coming down over your face as you make your way to work each day. Maybe you're more pushy and to the point, cutthroat. You're always trying to impress the boss, hit the goals, meet the targets, and that's not who you are. Or perhaps you disappear at work. You keep quiet, keep your head down, stay on the edge of things. At home or with your friends, you're confident and playful, but at work, you just shrink. Whatever the change might look like when you switch from work you to not work you, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't sit right to be spending so much time of your week playing a role. But that's just how it has to be sometimes, right? Right? Maybe work is a touchy subject for you, or you're just a little bit embarrassed. You hate the inevitable question. So, what do you do? You're not proud of the answer, so you try and brush it off quickly, jokingly, with a shrug. People you love have stopped asking how things are at work, because, well, they know what the answer's going to be. Maybe it's an ongoing joke between your friends that you hate your job. Perhaps you've stopped talking about it to your family because they don't understand and it becomes a big, uncomfortable elephant in the room, and you don't want to be the one who drags the conversations down for you. Finally, there is the resignation. You've been living under a blanket and you just don't care anymore. You don't care about the projects you're working on. You don't care about the office politics. You don't care if you're doing well or not. You're just getting through each day, and if you've reached a point where you're essentially given up, well, it's time to shake things up. And finally, you're here. Now, realistically, if you're asking yourself if it's time to make a career change, there's a good chance it is time to do just that. We know these kinds of doubts don't show up for someone who's fulfilled in their work. Yes, there are tough days and stressful periods, but a great fit is a great fit. Basically, trust your gut feeling and you'll find it's not often wrong. So what is your thought process from all of this? How much of it rings true to you right now in your current situation? If any of it has hit a chord with you, maybe it's time that you do something and need to look properly. If not, then you are loving your job, your career right now, and that's all good. It's very likely that you are actually one of the few people out there that do love what they're doing. Now, if career advice is something you're looking for, the good news is I may be able to help you, and if you'd like that help, you're invited to grab your free 30-minute Learn, Develop, Live Power Call right now. Head over to ldlcall.com, find the perfect time slot for you, and let's see what the Learn, Develop, Live method can do for you. Now, that is all from me today. Let's speak on the call and get you moving forwards for that new job and new career that you actually want. Start your brand new adventure today. Have a great week, and I will see you in the next one.
You've got the idea.
That's a great idea.
You've got the plan.
What's your plan?
Now let's make it happen. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast.
Goodbye.
What? It's over already?
All over.
Thank you for listening to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. I hope you feel as warm, motivated, and fuzzy inside as I do. You can connect with Chris at learndeveloplive.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
I won't say goodbye. I'll just say until we meet again.
Until next time, join the motivation. Motivation.